to At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
And we're going to Brooklyn, y'all.
I guess, kinda. It's
I was trying to be that
Newsies
kid.
from 1992. Kelly's trying to be Spot Conlon.
Yeah, Spot Colon.
Yeah.
That's what I kept writing down in my book. But yeah, Newsies from 1992.
When you got 100 voices singing, who can hear a lousy whistle blow? And the world will know that this ain't no game. That we got.
Boy, oh boy.
I don't want to be stereotypical and say I already know how David feels about this movie, but...
I don't think you do. I really don't think you do.
Oh boy. Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, so no, go ahead. What do I think of this movie?
Got the vibe that you were bored the entire time.
That would be false.
Really?
Yeah. So...
Oh, this could be really interesting.
My only problem with this movie is, why was it a musical? The music was just like, I don't want to say shoehorned in because that's too polite. It was like...
Thrusted in
with a dull butter knife.
Well,
like, it made no sense. I understand it was originally a musical, but this could have been a fantastic movie without the music.
There was a couple of songs that I liked, but I don't remember most of them, but there was I think 2 songs that I remember that I kind of liked, but...
Even remembering them, this movie just didn't need that.
I am actually really surprised. I think you probably liked it a lot more than I did.
Yeah, maybe.
You hadn't seen this, but you knew Christian Bale was in it.
I think I just knew that from some kind of trivia thing that I had heard, and I was like, what? It just kind of stuck in my brain.
Interesting.
And
okay.
To me, it's him that saves this movie.
He is very good in it.
He is incredible in this movie, and he can't sing.
No, he definitely. That was my biggest problem with this movie is that.
Same.
I feel like all of the background characters were probably actually people that played in the actual Broadway show.
Yeah, maybe
like all of the
that.
extras that did the little parts because they were fine, but he couldn't sing. Bill Pullman really should never sing. Ever.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of when they did the movie version of Mamma Mia, which I love, and they had what's his face? The guy who played James Bond. What is his name?
For which James Bond?
Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, okay.
They had him sing, and the whole movie is great, and then that was terrible, and that's what it was like. It was like a dead, it was awful.
Well, even Davey couldn't sing. They had him start that one song, and he couldn't sing either.
No, the singing was not good.
The music was not good. This, I thought, without that, and if they could have just give it a little more historical boom and oomph, I think this is a good movie. Other than that, but that really drags it down.
I knew it was a musical because I and it's one of those that if you do plays and stuff in high school, I probably should be ashamed that I didn't really know the story of this, because everybody who does musical theater, it's one of those oh, it's like Les Mis, or it's everyone knows what it is.
Well, okay, I could see this being a good musical at the theater.
Yeah.
But personally, musicals like this where there's a lot of dancing and running and jumping and stuff, I don't like watching them as movies.
So much jumping. And so much getting low and sweeping with your feet. There was a lot of that happening.
Right. It's stuff that's impressive on the stage and horrible as a movie. I don't like musicals as movies.
There's a couple that are okay.
There's
a few that are
South Park movie's good.
It's not what I was thinking, but I was going to say, I love the Mamma Mia movie version. I love that. I think it's good. There's a couple other ones that are actually pretty good, but
I think for the most part, Broadway belongs on the stage.
Well, sure, it's definitely not nearly as good, and there's a lot of them that they should just not do.
Like you were talking about, they're going to make a Wicked movie. I never want to see that.
Oh, but I do want to see it, though.
No, because it's good on the stage. That's where it belongs.
It is good on the stage. It is true. It is very good on the stage. But for those of you who don't know the story, I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis. In 1899, a courageous group of New York City newsboys become unlikely heroes when they team up to fight an unscrupulous newspaper tycoon.
Yeah, that's fair. And see, maybe that's the thing, is it really hits that soft spot with me of people rising up for labor and better wages for the bottom people.
I mean,
that really scores millions of points.
It is very timely. Probably going to be a relevant story forever.
I feel like we should be screening this movie right now to lots of people.
Probably. It's definitely very relevant. Like the people that make all the money and trying to mess up.
And the media and all that stuff. It shows you that this has been going on for a long time, and
it's a true story, which I didn't know.
People used to stand up for themselves, which is refreshing. Because this led to all kind that gave us like the weekend and 5-day work week.
Yeah, that's true.
Overtime and not having kids. Like, think about kids. It's only been 100 years, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between the soft kids we have now and those dirty kids. One of my favorite things is all the smoking the children were doing.
Oh my gosh, there was so much children smoking. And
Yeah.
okay. Our movie from last week, Jodie Foster could have fit right in with these kids.
She really could have. She was 20 years too late. I mean, she would have been really good.
Well, they had no chicks, though. It's all about the boys,
No. She would have been the perfect chick newsie.
Oh,
she
yeah.
was basically a boy.
Yeah.
She'd have been great in this
But,
movie
that was
if it
LA,
was-
supposedly.
well,
even though
right.
it looked just like this. Literally, it looked like the same
It did,
set. They're
it
like, oh,
did.
here's the same sound set. We're just going to use this.
But she would have been perfect in this movie. Spot on perfect.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. So the director, he's done a lot of musical stuff.
Yeah, and a bunch of TV.
Well, he also directed Hocus Pocus, which is...
No, you didn't read that carefully enough.
What did it say?
Hocus Pocus, The Beginnings.
Wait, it wasn't the actual Hocus Pocus?
No.
What?
No.
I thought it was the
there
actual...
was Dirty Dancing on there, too, but it
Oh,
was Dirty
no, I
Dancing,
saw that.
the TV show.
Yeah, and you know what?
You had to click because it's all a bunch of B movies and crap.
Okay, so the Dirty Dancing one, I did click on it because I was like, no, that's not the guy.
Right.
And then I was laughing inside because it's like a knockoff TV version of like the extension of the story. And the chick they got to play, the main chick, is Jan from The Office.
Nice.
So that was...
I didn't get that
yeah,
far.
no, so I was...
But the Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus was also off-base
I thought
B
the
version.
poster looked the same, so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it must be. And because then I think I didn't click on it because I got distracted by the Dirty Dancing one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he hasn't really done a ton. It's
Did
mostly
a bunch of high school music. I don't know anything about it. I just know it's a big thing, the high school music thing.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, this guy directs musicals. Great.
Yeah, he did like the Michael Jackson musical thing.
Great.
That was like a big deal.
Yeah.
But other than that, he hasn't really done much other than TV stuff. But
Yeah, lots of TV.
But
So
it did-
That's fine.
it-
He's a director. He's a seasoned director.
it did have a lot of notable other like actors in it though.
But most of the notable actors, so you had Christian Bale, who was incredible, just absolutely throughout the whole movie, flawlessly incredible, except he can't sing.
No, I mean it wasn't. It was pretty bad, but it like.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
So that we'll find out later. But that is all the music in this movie is the biggest detriment to this movie. Then you had Dave Moscow,
Who
was Little Josh.
Yes.
I couldn't figure out why I recognized this
So
guy. I'm like, who?
He
in the hell
also
is this
he's one of
kid?
those people that he will make random. He'll be like on an episode of this show, on an episode of that show, being like.
Right, just an actor.
Like, he could be on, like, any TV show that you've seen. He's probably been on a single episode. He probably makes hella money just doing all these random
Guest
episodes.
spots, yeah.
Yeah, not even, like, a guest spot.
Well,
just
that's
playing,
what it
like,
is. Yeah, just
dad
playing,
number
like-
2 or something on an episode of House, like, a patient.
But
like,
him being Little Josh and big is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. I mean, that's awesome.
And
He was okay. I mean, he was fine in this. He really just was kind of speaking. Robert Duvall Pulitzer
it's pretty good.
was awesome.
Yeah,
I
he's
really
really good.
enjoyed that. That to me, find out later once again, awesome. And Margaret, the lady,
Meta.
was hilarious. It's like she's so
Yeah.
far above that. I couldn't figure out why she was there.
She, I think, just really likes musical theater, and she probably just really wanted to be a part of it.
Maybe. I guess that kind of makes sense. And Bill Pullman
Ugh.
was good for his own part, but
Okay, so...
he was just basically being Bill Pullman. I know you don't like Bill Pullman.
Okay, Bill Pullman, Kevin Costner, and Bill Paxton, they're like the Three Stooges of creepy white dude actors in my head that like, there's something about the three of them that I don't like it.
Yeah, which to me makes no sense. I mean, Costner
Like, I would like to me.
couldn't be less creepy. He's got to be like one of the most milquetoast guys.
No, he's like a creepy guy that's like sniffs ladies' underwear or something. Like he's like, so there's something about the three of them that I would not be surprised if like when they died, somebody found like a closet of bodies in their house. house.
But Paxton and Pullman both are national treasures. I don't get it. It's
fine.
a take of yours
It's
that
fine.
makes no sense to me. It is fine. You're right.
There's somebody out there that understands. It's just something about their like face. I don't know. Like they got that weird creepy white guy face. I don't know.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he was fine. His character was good. I liked his character.
So we get into the movie. It's right away. It's 1899, New York City. Kids slinging pape.
Yeah, the papes.
Which is the papers.
And of course, it opens up right away with a song.
A horrible song.
And I think it was called like Fine Line or something. Or what was it?
Fine Life. Fine Life.
Or was it Carrying the Banner?
Every morning, we goes where we wishes. We's as free as fishes. Shore beats washing dishes. What a fine life. Carrying the banner home for you.
You know, honestly,
I don't know.
Any of these things.
They were just talking about like places to go sell papes and.
But like right here, I thought for sure I was gonna absolutely hate this movie. I was pissed when I saw that it was 2 hours long and this was the beginning. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I think that you gave like even a small like. And that maybe that's why, like, in my head, I was like, oh, David's going to hate this.
I thought I was really going to hate it at first.
Yeah, and, you know,
because that song is 10 minutes long.
It's pretty long.
And nothing happens.
All you do is meet all the little characters.
Which there's too many little characters, which is fine.
So many.
But, I mean...
And the only one that's, like, even worth anything is Crutchy. That's...
Crutchy, Crutchy, maybe Booth.
Yeah, but...
Maybe,
Cole.
Cole?
Or what, the guy from Brooklyn, whatever his name is.
Oh, well, no, Spot Conlon is extremely important.
No, it's, Racetrack. Mush.
Mush, yeah.
Specs.
Well, Specs is not.
No, I just
the kid that has glasses.
I know. I just literally went through the IMDb and wrote down because I couldn't remember any of their names other than Crutchy.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, so they sing the song and they're doing all the street dancing while they're grabbing the paper and
you find out that this guy named Cowboy at first is Jack Kelly, who is
Christian Bale's character.
Thank you.
He's like the head newsie.
Yeah, he's the cool guy, but he's also 17 years old. So I mean, of course, he's like basically an adult and on his way out.
Yeah, and then when they're getting the paper, they meet Mr. Weisel, who is another character actor.
Right, who I didn't think was going to be the bad guy at first, but boy, does that turn out to be wrong.
Oh yeah, well that actor. Michael Lerner, he always plays the same gross guy in every movie.
Well, I mean, that's what he looks like, so why would he not?
But so they're getting the papers and they have to go, essentially what their job is they go buy the papers from him. He's a distributor and then they sell them. So the price that they pay is like a big deal. Like, because this is $18.99 and they have no money.
Well, I mean, for any business, the price that you pay like that is a big deal.
Yeah.
But so we see Davey and his kid brother Les. Jack kind of like instantly adopts them because Les is a cute little kid.
Yeah, and he's always looking like, oh, I can make more money with you.
Yeah, he's always looking for the angle. Yeah, so he's like, oh, I can make more money. He's betting with Davey, and Davey's like this upstanding...
Like, doesn't belong there kind of dude.
Moralistic kid. Well, the only reason he's there is because his dad got his hand hacked up in a factory or something. We never really find out exactly what.
No, basically they're going out and selling the papers, and Jack just... basically makes up his own headlines.
Well, he doesn't make them up. He just exaggerates what's in there.
Right, but they're like completely ridiculous, and David's like, "What? You can't do that."
Yeah, he's fine. And we find out it shows the beginning of the Pulitzer versus Hearst papers war, which is like a huge thing in history. That I mean, they include it, but there's no context for anybody if you don't already know who William Randolph Hearst and Joe Pulitzer are.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody should know who Joe Pulitzer is. I mean, it's...
Well, everybody should know who William Randolph Hearst is, too. This movie does kind of glaze over the historical fact.
But when...
And you find out that Dave is soft and Cowboy's tough.
Yeah. He's like, you can't do that. And he's like, yeah, I can do what I want.
Right. And then somebody sees Cowboy and they have to run away.
Well, they're at like watching a boxing match or something. Yeah, they're in a bare knuckle
boxing fight.
Yeah, which is like the most terrible. But yeah, it's the warden.
Oh, the warden actually sees them. Yeah, they have to run away, run. They run to Meadows.
Well, because apparently, and this is where David is like, why are you running? And he's like, I escaped from jail with Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, with Teddy Roosevelt, who was the governor of New York at the time.
Yeah.
Later to become one of the best presidents of the United States in history.
Yeah. But we meet Meta. She's like a vaudeville theater person that apparently is friends with Jack.
Yep, and she puts on a show, all a Bullwhip Griffin.
It's Meta Luxon.
My lovey-dovey baby, I boo-hoo-hoo for you. I used to be your tootsie bootsie, then you said doodly-doo.
Yeah, again, and that's
But-
what I was thinking too. And she's so old, and all the dudes are like, "Oh, you're so hot," and I'm
But
like,
she was still hot then. And she was still old then. I mean, but she made it hot like as long as a person possibly could.
No, I mean that's fine, but like,
Yeah.
it just was an odd. These kids that are all like 15 and 12, and I'm just like, okay, all right.
But you know, for all these movies, the Bullwhip one is still the best one.
Oh yeah, no, because the chick is the best.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
weird, because we hammered that movie,
I
which
know.
is still unfair.
We'll have to watch it again at some point.
I think so. But her vaudeville, burlesque, whatever you want to call it, show was the best one we've seen.
Yeah, no, it was good. But basically, and then after that, they're like outside, and there's like a big fight and a fire. And...
Well, the paper headlines had been the trolley strike was in its third week.
Oh, right.
And so there was a riot for the strike, and you were watching like trolley guys getting their head beat in and stuff like that. And...
Right. And so I guess like the first like 15 minutes of the movie, I was like, not confused, but I was just a little bit like, okay, like I wasn't really sure exactly where the story was.
Well, the story, that's part of I think it was longer than the first 15 minutes. The story took a long time to launch.
Yeah, and that's why like I was kind of like, okay.
That's why I was kind of pissed about the movie. I was like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah. Well, and like, so I definitely think that the second half of the movie was better than the first half, but...
Yeah, but then, so after that strike, Davey and Les take Jack home with them.
Right.
To meet the family, the injured dad, his wife, and then their sister Sarah.
Who immediately Jack makes googly eyes at.
Yeah,
And
it's probably the first chick he's ever been around for more than 15 seconds at a time.
Right, and I don't know exactly what he said, but she was like, "Tell me about the headlight, or what makes a good headline." He's like, like nude, or he says like nude, and
It's like nude, corpse.
And like maniac or something.
Maniac, but there was something else that was when he said nude. It was also lewd, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, and like I thought like her dad was gonna freak out, but he was like, ah, ha, ha.
Yeah. This is before dads didn't want their daughters to be married off.
Right. But then you find out that like that's why David's selling papers is because his dad got injured in a factory, and because they don't have a union, he's not part of a union. There's nothing he could do because
Right.
if it was nowadays, he would have been hella money.
Even without a union, but I mean, it just shows you how far labor rights have come, and we've been letting them slip away, which is sad.
Yeah.
But Jack also at this time is pretending like he also has a family, which he definitely does not. Nobody has said that yet, but it's blatantly obvious that he does not have.
Oh, of
one.
course. This is like a stereotype they use in movies all the time where, like, oh, my family, and then it comes out
Oh,
later.
they're out west trying to find us a ranch. Right, and they wouldn't have taken their kid with them.
Right.
They're going to send word.
Yeah, and when he leaves, then he sings another song.
Yeah, and it's so bad. I swear. He's clearly lip singing because he's not really singing.
No, he is
while they're
singing.
No.
But he did actually sing it, though.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But he's not singing live on film.
Well, right.
He's just kind of mouthing the words, and then there's the singing, and it's awful.
It's pretty bad.
When the city's finally sleeping, all my thoughts begin to stray, and I'm on the train that's bound for Santa Fe.
And he's singing about, like, his family and, like, how he's going to go to Santa Fe, which I don't know what everybody's freaking obsession with going to Santa Fe is.
Oh, that was a genius idea, I thought. I mean, that if I was a kid like that in New York, the only thing I would have tried to do is go west.
We'll go west, sure, but why Santa Fe? Why not L.A. or, like, somewhere cool? I don't know.
We're going to have to go to Santa Fe sometime, because Santa Fe is pretty cool.
But, like, back then, though, like, what was there?
It was a beautiful place in the mountains where you could have land and...
No, it just seems, like, odd, like, so, like...
It was a bigger, better town then than it is now.
Okay, fair enough.
It was like a bigger deal.
But I will say that at this part I noticed the way that it was shot, it was like they were trying to film it like it was still on stage. Did you feel that?
I did feel that, which was also horrible.
It was like there weren't any really long like panning shots or like where you could see the whole like scenery.
Right.
It felt very close and boxed in, which I think was the point.
Well, it was the point, but it was clear that they filmed it on a soundstage. I mean,
yeah,
it had to have been like one of their cheaper sound stages because
the quality of the filming was pretty good. But
it was nice.
But I noticed that especially in the scene when he was doing all of his street dancing and jumping over things, I was like, oh, they're trying to make it feel like a real musical.
Yeah, and so they cut after that to Pulitzer, just desperate to make more money. So they're going through all these options. He finds the best one is to fuck the Newsies on the price.
And my favorite one was like the guy who's like his assistant is like, well, my other idea is we could just take pay cuts from people at the top.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, that's the obvious thing that you do.
Right.
And that's still a problem today.
That's a bigger problem now.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things they could have done, but no. The best thing to do is to take the money from the people at the bottom and...
Not the customers. Don't make them pay more, but make the people, the Newsies.
The Newsies, yeah, the distributors pay more.
Yeah.
And it goes bad immediately because, obviously the kids are living on a razor-thin margin and basically a whole bunch of orphans.
Yeah, because they're all living in, like, group homes together.
Yeah, because back then, guess what? We didn't have vaccines or anything like that. I was really young and kids was a lot.
Wait,
don't tell anybody.
Oh, don't tell anybody about
that's
vaccines.
That's why now we live forever and don't have any problems. But anyhow, so the Newsies immediately are ready to go on strike.
Well, yeah, because it's Jack that's like, blah, 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 blah. And David's
yeah.
like, you can't do that. You don't have a union. He's like, why don't we form one? And like...
if we say we are, we are. Which is true. You can officially form one, or you can just be like, we are one. Let's do it.
Yeah. And essentially, David is like telling him what to say. But Jack has like the personality to get everybody involved.
He's got the personality and the showmanship. And Davey has he's got the way to say it.
And then they... boast into their song.
Yeah, there's another song that just should be left out.
Well, this one actually wasn't as bad.
It doesn't matter. The way that they incorporated the musical element, it just didn't need to be there. Like, it was just so ham-fisted. Like, a good musical, the music is a natural thing, and the music moves the story along.
Yeah.
The music in this doesn't move the story along a hair. Like, think about...
It feels like the music here is just, like, emphasizing whatever point they're making.
Right. Think about Beauty and the Beast, where huge parts of the story are moved along by the songs.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And right here, the story stops as hard as it possibly can at every song.
Well,
and it's horrifying.
And I think, like you said, I think this is probably a very enjoyable show on the stage musical when you can, like, see, like, the dancing and all that
Right, and I'm sure that they have songs in the actual musical...
that aren't in here
that move the story along, because a good musical, I really think that some of the songs have to move the story along so that it doesn't have to be 2 hours long for no reason.
That's literally the point, is the songs are supposed to be like continuing the story.
Right. Think about Wicked, like how many of the songs really move that story along.
Yeah.
And then you've got a couple scenes of exposition and then the song moves the story along. Like here we don't have that.
Yeah. And then while they're singing, that's when Bill Pullman shows up.
Randomly.
He's
just
like
out of the shadows. He's
just like,
walks out on Bill Pullman.
Oh, there's children dancing around. Let me come on out here.
And he's another newspaper guy who's working for another
smaller newspaper,
which to me, everybody kind of glossed over how ironic that was. That
what do you mean?
Talking to a newspaper guy when they're striking against.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I just was like, okay, we're not going to talk about that. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
But his character is Denton, and so basically he bribes them all with food, essentially, I think, to get their story, because he takes them out to lunch and, like, is just feeding all of them, and then he's getting their story for his own paper.
Yeah. And, that's good. But
they have to, somewhere in the midst of their song, they have to split up to go to all the different neighborhoods to get all the other Newsies to join them.
And nobody wants to go to Brooklyn because that's Spot Conlon's territory. He's notoriously tough. And Brooklyn, I guess, has always kind of had that tough reputation because it's kind of away from the rest of New York City.
I don't think it's like that anymore. I think now it's like a cool place to be. But
it's hipster. But
yeah.
Still think it probably has a little something to it.
Yeah.
I don't know though. And then they're on the bridge, which I find hilarious because I would like to find any kid now younger than 20 who's walked across a large bridge by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to meet that kid and talk to him and find out how that happened.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was like one of the joys of my childhood was crossing bridges, like big ones, and on foot or on bike. And I liked the visceral feel of that in the movie because nobody experiences that.
Well, no. And nobody really walks or rides bikes anywhere anymore. Everybody just, takes cars or Ubers everywhere. Nobody.
Yeah. Well, kids aren't free to move about as they like, so.
Yeah.
How would you ever find that out?
You wouldn't. But he basically. So it's who's there? It's Jack,
Boots and Jack and Davey.
That's right. Yeah.
And Spot Conlon's like, okay, I can see doing this, but I want to see if you guys have enough backbone to actually pull it off.
Right.
I don't want you guys pussing out for a second a club comes out, because otherwise I'm not in.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
makes sense. Like, to me, that was a good negotiation on his part.
All over. The chirping in my ear. Jackie boys Newsies is playing like they're going on strike.
Yeah, well, we are.
Well, we're not playing. We are going on strike. Oh, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, because then they're back in the main part of the city, and they break into the other song, "Seize the Day," and that's the one song I kind of remember.
Yeah, well, it's because they do it 2 or 3 different times.
Well, and I think it is one of the better songs, and that they do have. It's one of the.
I mean, I'm not going to comment on that because I think they're all bad. So.
But they're like dance fighting in the street, kind of.
Yeah, and there's just mayhem at the gates of the distributors.
Right, because they're basically like anybody who's a scab or anybody who doesn't join them, they're going to beat up, essentially.
That's how it used to be. You don't cross the picket line.
Yeah, and so, yeah, they're like ripping up all the newspapers and going crazy, and so I did like that part. I liked that scene was kind of fun. But then the cops come, and Crutchy gets captured.
Yep, poor Crutchy. And they beat the
Crutchy.
crap out of him.
Yeah, and there's
But
like...
it was kind of Crutchy's fault because he didn't get the hell out of there.
No, he was just like sitting there and like, I don't
ripping
know
up papers.
if he was supposed to be like a little touched in the head because he's sitting there like, yay, yay.
Well, if you think about it, back then, like, you could catch any kind of rando disease that we don't get now because we have vaccines and become like crippled and a little touched. Just because you got rubella.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how it was. So yeah, he could have been, but yeah, he gets the crap beat out of him and taken away.
To the jail.
Yeah, which has a name that is so forgettable, I can't remember
it. It's
and I
called
don't know if I wrote it down.
Something else, but it's the children's jail.
Something, but it's the kids' jail.
And so then at night, David and Jack try to go sneak to break him out.
Yep.
And Crutchy's like, no, I can't get out. I'm all messed up.
Oh yeah, he can barely even walk with his crutches because he got beat up. So
Yeah.
he's like, no, you got to leave me in here. Like, I can't move.
Yep. So they leave him.
Yep.
And then we have another little Pulitzer scene.
Yeah, where he's paying sites to break the kids up, to beat them down, literally.
Right.
Literally beat them down. We have a little more Seize the Day scene.
Yeah, there's like a street dance drum section.
Yeah, which is just horrible. And then they open the gates in the morning for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this mob of adults with weapons to beat the children
with giant chains.
Chains, clubs, everything like it. And see, this is once again, people need to take a step back and realize how far we've come. 120 years ago, I cannot imagine beating a kid with a chain.
Well, I'm sure, and this was actually happened, so.
And this was just like, that's all good. Beat that kid with a chain. Who cares? And it's just like, what?
But then Spot Conlon and his band of Conlon, sorry.
He's not a poop.
Just that's what I kept writing down.
Yeah, they saved the day because those kids were trapped. But Spot Conlon and the Brooklyn crew.
The slingshot crew. Yeah, they all had slingshots, and that's how they were going to beat the adults with chains.
Well, that's not a bad plan because a slingshot is a supremely dangerous weapon that's super underrated.
But then there's a ridiculous fight scene, as all
Yeah,
these
they have a
movies
big
have.
fight scene with like kids swinging off of stuff and hitting adults and stuff like that, and just a bunch of ridiculous fighting instead of like a bunch of choking and beating like there would have been in real life.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, all of these Disney movies have to have that. And I mean, obviously it was probably in the play too, but it was so like just little
Silly.
sight gag fighting everywhere.
Yeah.
And then after this, they're like, and meanwhile, Denton, Bill Pullman's character, has been covering all of this.
Yeah, and their paper has been putting it out.
Right. And so then they're in the diner again, and they break into the King of New York song or whatever. Because their picture is in the paper.
Which is the worst one.
To see the flickers.
Havana cigars that cost a quarter.
An editor's desk for the Star Reporter.
Tip your hat, he's the king of New York.
I'm the king of New
Ain't
York.
nothing flat, he'll be covering Brooklyn to Trenton, Harlem and Denton.
And earlier on, Jax had no pictures, and he should have stuck with that.
And then now he's like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah. Because then Crutchy sees the picture in the paper while he's picking up food for Snyder, the jailer, and then that Snyder guy just gets a huge hard-on for going after Jack.
Yeah, because Jack escaped.
Yeah.
But then, like, meanwhile, Jack is organizing a giant rally because he's like to send a message to all of the newspaper guys because they're not paying attention to them enough.
Well, yeah. So.
And that's where the warden decides he's going to break it up and.
And take him down. Yeah.
Yeah, because then he like gets Pulitzer gets like the mayor on his side and he like bribes him with like, oh.
Wait, is that at this part?
Oh no, I guess it was a little bit after. There's a little scene in between there, but.
Yeah, this is the scene where he wakes up on the outside of Sarah's window.
Yeah.
And she is like immediately sprung at this point.
Yeah, she's like, come to the roof.
Yeah, come to the roof.
And when they're on the roof, he's like punching socks. They're hanging up on the thing, like airboxing.
That's a pretty normal thing for a young kid like that.
I guess.
Yeah,
it looked really stupid.
It's really normal.
But
good old testosterone. I have a picture to show you proving my point in a second.
Okay, all right. But basically...
Oh, so this is where they do it. They plot... After this, they plot for Jack to be arrested at the rally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, Mayor, come on down. We're going to have all the newspaper people there. Which is where they end up... That poker game is where they invite the New York Sun guy, Gammon.
Right.
And that's how they end up not printing...
Right, exactly. But basically the mayor is on their side because he has an election coming up. So he's like, oh, I better like be good friends with all the paper people.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mayor has an election coming up. So he has to like, that's why he decides to be friends and okay them to go in hard and like arrest Jack essentially.
Right. But in the meantime, so at the rally, it's like Spot Conlon versus Davy of the peaceful and the war route. And Spot Conlon's like, let's just soak them all. He just wants to beat everybody up. And Davy's like, no, that's what they want. They want us to be little rats, just gnawing on everybody's shins. And Jack's like, okay, fine, I'm going to take this over. Charms everybody into taking the peaceable route.
Then Meta just comes out and starts singing.
Yeah. But at this point, we see Sarah looking at Jack, and she wants to... Like, it's clear.
I mean, yeah, a little bit. She's like, oh. But then Jack's like, all right.
And she has her hair all curled, and it's just ridiculous. Like,
it's pretty ridiculous.
It's like, oh my god, she's soaking.
But then the warden and the police come in.
Yeah, and it's basically like the entire police force is there to get Jack. And they need the whole police force because the kids are fighting the cops. They're taking billy clubs to the head.
Oh, they're beating the crap out of all of these kids.
Yeah, they don't even care. And the kids don't care, and the cops don't care. They just beat the whole thing. So finally, they catch Kelly. Next scene is court. Mm-hmm. The judge gives all the regular kids either a fine of $5 or 2 weeks in whatever the jail is called that we can't, neither of us wrote down.
Yeah, and they don't have $5, and they're like, they're... ribbing the judge and all this, and he's like, but then Denton comes in, he's like, I'll pay all their fines. So he just apparently has all this money.
Yeah, it must be like super rich because he just paid like $200 to live.
Which is a lot of money back then.
Hell yeah.
A lot of money.
So, and then Jack comes up to be sentenced separately, and that greasy little warden, Snyder, comes up and whispers into the judge about how he's an escaped convict and yada, 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 and he's a thief.
He outs him about his parents in front of all the other Newsy kids.
Right, which is kind of, to me, neither here nor there. He's an orphan. Who gives a...
Well, yeah, but, like, he's been telling all the other kids, like...
Yeah, but still, to me, that's kind of irrelevant. Nobody really cares.
No, nobody really cares, but that's what... Well, except for, like, David was the only one who was like, what?
Well, because he's a little...
Yeah, no, I know. That's it. It's in... Yeah.
Wuss. But, so they sentenced him until he's 21 to be at that place.
Which is a long time.
Which is 4 more years, which is just, like... If you think about it, ridiculous, and why would you ever keep a juvenile past 18? Like, it's just...
No, and, like, especially since he was originally only in there for, like, stealing food. Because he was hungry.
Right.
Like, basically, then they're all back at the diner, and Denton, like, did his article, but nobody would publish it. And essentially his boss told him, like, you have to stop covering this or I'm going to blackball you from all of the newspapers across the country.
Right. Now you're going to go back to being our best war correspondent.
Mm-hmm.
And Davy is just beside himself, like, oh,
He's
you're
pissed.
a traitor, blah, 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 blah. And Denton wants Davy to read the article, but he crumbles it up and throws it away instead.
And the little kid wraps a sausage in it.
Wrapped his sausage roll in it, which was hilarious.
Yep. And basically, then they're like, we're going to go break Jack out.
Right.
And so David, like, somehow clings to the back of, like, a carriage that they're in.
The underside, yeah.
Yeah.
Because instead of Jack actually being in the place, they see him taking him away.
Yeah, they're taking him to Pulitzer's house.
Yeah.
Basically, Pulitzer is telling him, like, I'm going to pay you to just go away.
Yeah, he's bribing / threatening him. He's saying, hey, you can take a bunch of money in your freedom, or you can be locked up forever.
Yeah, and if you don't do it, I'm going to mess up your friends, especially, he said, like, David's family. He's like, oh, doesn't he have a family? And,
right.
You know.
So, I mean, he's just being a rich dude.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
David frees Jack on his way out of Pulitzer's house, and Jack is like, no, you get out of here, I'm going back, you go home, end of story. And Dave's like, oh, you're a little traitor, blah, blah, blah. And then there's some other god-awful song that I can't even remember.
It's just a reprise of the Santa Fe song from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's just, God, it's bad.
Yeah, that's why, because it's the same song, but just a little one. Because he's basically, essentially what that is to signify is he's trying to reassure himself that he's making the right decision.
Which, in any logic, him taking the payout is the right decision.
Right, but he's, like, a good guy, so...
It doesn't matter. It's still the right decision, because he could have taken the buyout and then helped later. Like, in any circumstance, he made the right choice.
But then it goes the next day, and he comes out, and he's wearing, like, a fancy suit, and he's going back to work for Pulitzer, essentially, because he basically... Pulitzer's using him to try to break up the riot.
Well, yeah, because he's a scab. They use him as the #1 scab, and he's in this fancy outfit, and all the kids are super pissed.
Yeah, exactly. So they all turn on him.
And he's really goading Davy with this, because he's kind of like, hey, get this going without saying get it going. Like, he's really ribbing him, trying to get him to work.
Yeah.
It's not super over the top, but that's definitely what he's doing. He's like, hey, get it going.
Yeah. And then Sarah, his sister, is like walking down the street at this point, right?
No.
Oh, that's later.
That's later.
Oh.
First, there's the scene with Les and Sarah. And
that's
Davey,
what it is. Yeah.
Where she finds
the
Les's
sausage
roll
wrapped in the article.
Wrapped in the article, and she's like, hey, you need to read this. And Davy still will not.
Yeah, he like slams the window. He's like, no,
I won't. I'm going down the fire escape.
Yeah.
And you see that basically that Jack is a slave. You know, he's stuck down in the Delancey's, Seitz's, whatever basement.
Yep, where they have like all their printing stuff.
So then the next morning they take him out with the Delancey's. Sarah and Les are ambushed by the Delanceys.
Yeah, and they're getting like super rapey with her.
Oh yeah, it just shows you how bad things used to be.
Because like, even though this is a Disney movie, like that is 100% what would have happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
He was
even
like
one of the
dragging her
kids-
down an alley.
One of
and-
the kids kind of like alluded to like how much he's been looking forward to it. It's super rapey and gross.
Yeah, and I know that's the point. But then
Yeah.
essentially she's like freaking out because then David comes over and he's trying to fight them. And they're obviously too much for him because he's never really fought people in his life.
Right, but then Jack hears Sarah screaming.
And that's what kind of snaps him out of what he's doing.
Well, I don't think it necessarily snapped him out
Well,
of it, but he had a decision to make, and there is no fucking way that he was going to make the decision to not save her.
right, exactly. And so, yeah, he goes over and then he's back in it and he's like, no,
And he just beats the shit out of those two dudes.
yeah. And so he's like, yeah, I guess I couldn't do it. And so he's back and
And then they go directly to Denton's house.
with the article.
With the article, Sarah, Les, Davy, and Jack all together.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I guess I can help you, blah, blah, blah. But we need a printing press. Jack's like, oh, I know where there's a printing press.
Yeah.
Some
And they're-
super old, even for this movie, a super old school single page printing press.
Well, but I mean, this is 1899.
Yeah, but even for then, that's like a 1700s printing
Really?
press. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Where it's just one page.
Yeah.
It's always all the same. Oh, yeah.
All right. So yeah, there's a whole montage of them making their own papers, and they use all the Newsies to get them out. Because basically, essentially, Denton was exploiting the Newsies, but all of like the factory children that are working and all these terrible labor things that are happening.
That guy just noticed that basically all of New York City was child labor.
But that's what I mean. And so he's like the article was about that, and so they
Yeah.
use it to get that to Roosevelt, essentially.
Well, eventually, yeah.
yeah, because Denton was in Roosevelt's office.
But I think that they were trying to get the public basically behind them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But he takes it eventually to Roosevelt, and he's like, I can't believe this is happening. How did I let this happen? Because he's actually...
But see, I thought that was about the jail.
No, I think it was like the article, because he was reading the article.
No, the article, one half of it was about child labor, one half of it was about that jail, and they included Teddy Roosevelt in the headline.
Okay, I get... Well, maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Yeah. But either way, like, it's exploitation of children, essentially, either way.
And there's another terrible song.
Yeah, no, I think it's just another reprise, to be honest.
Could be, but it's still another terrible song.
Yeah.
Pulitzer then brings Jack and Davy in
Yeah.
for negotiations, but even though Pulitzer's still like, I'll break you.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is part of the reason that Robert Duvall did such a good job of this, is because he's an evil bird.
Yeah, he just doesn't care.
Yeah,
and then
doesn't care at all.
Christian Bale's character, Jack, is like, oh, it doesn't, I see what it is. Or was it him or was it Davy that called him out?
Oh, it was Davy, all about power. Like,
yeah,
because he's the power over.
No, I thought it was Jack that called him out though.
It could have been.
Because he was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Because Davy was like, it was Jack, because Davy was like, I don't get it. Like, you're losing so much money, and he's only thinking about
You're right.
like the logical part of it, but Jack gets like
It was just about power, not money.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, he can't let us win because then it shows the little guys can really hold the power.
Right. Well, guess what? They won. Victory.
Because basically, he said, like, well, how did you even print this? And I'm going to kill whoever did this. And he's
presses,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that he was like, oh, essentially.
Yeah.
Then they're back in the street, and all of the jail kids come out, and they're all set free, including Crutchy, and the warden is taken to jail.
And that's where the Teddy Roosevelt part was for the kids' jail, not for the kids' labor. Because they knew about the kids' labor. That's a different story. He went and set all the kids free out of the jail and arrested that Snyder guy. That's what Teddy Roosevelt did.
And basically then Jack like goes with Teddy Roosevelt, and he's like, oh, I'm going to leave. And all, Sarah and Davy and Les are all sad.
Yeah.
And
I don't know why those kids don't have a last name, but their whole family cries.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's like they just come around the block and they come back and Jack's back.
Well, no, not exactly. Because I think it's the next day.
Is it?
Even though they don't say... Well, because Davy's buying 100 papes to sell.
Oh, you're right. It is the next day. Okay.
And
you're
then...
right.
Yeah, Jack then comes around with Teddy Roosevelt, for crying out loud. Oh, yeah, I'm back, blah, 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 blah. I came back for your sister.
And everyone's like, yay. And then then Sarah comes up, oh, then they kiss, and that's
That's really the end. I
Yeah.
mean, Teddy was like, "Oh, you were right," or Jack is like, "Oh, Teddy, you were right. I really did have a reason to come back."
Yeah, papes.
Like the governor would be involved in that, and Sarah's just bad about it. She wants that. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, really, the movie portion was good.
Yeah.
The musical portion was awful.
And that's what, like, it felt a little long.
It was long.
It's a little boring.
I think if they would have cut the music, it would have been better.
Yeah, probably.
So what was your favorite part?
I think I really liked the part where they made the paper with the printing press, that whole sequence, and they got all the Newsies to take the papers and throw them out and distribute them to everyone, and they're like, "Oh, can you read? Can you read?" They're going to all the kids, and
That's fair.
I like
That's
that
fair.
part.
I really liked all the parts with Pulitzer and Jack, because they were really intense and serious and pretty funny. And I liked all the Pulitzer parts in general.
Yeah, no, he was good.
And as a runner-up, I liked all the parts with Spot Conlon, because he was pretty funny.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he's like the scrawniest kid ever. Like,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
he's so
But
intimidating."
he carries that cane. He's bad to the bone.
Yeah, I
mean,
guess.
He's scrappy.
I guess.
Can't account for Scrappy.
Notable songs or music. I mean, it is a musical.
This music. It's terrible.
I mean, there was, the Seize the Day song wasn't bad.
No, it was terrible and awful.
It just, the singing wasn't good. Like,
None of it just wasn't good in general. Maybe it would have been good on stage, maybe, but it just doesn't
no,
work.
but the singing, you can't just take famous people or take actors and be like, "Go ahead and sing." Like, not everybody can sing, so it just wasn't. It would have been better if they would have found people that could sing and also act. Like,
Yeah, but it would have been a terrible movie, because the only reason this worked is because Christian Bale's an amazing actor.
yeah, and they had other people that were good too, but it was.
Well, yeah, bit parts that were good, but really, this movie rode on Christian Bale's back,
Yeah, no, it was.
which is crazy to even think about.
I mean, he's very Christian, but I don't know. I kind of feel like he plays the same character all the time. Like,
This isn't Batman.
no, not like that, but I just, like, I see
This
his.
isn't American Psycho.
Obviously,
I'm
but
just saying,
I mean,
those
well, no,
are
maybe
his
this
best
is like
movies.
this is like the grandfather of American Psycho, but no,
It could be the grandfather of American Psycho, that's fair.
no, he just, like, for something about it, like, his face is just, he doesn't have a lot of facial expression.
He doesn't.
Like-
That's also fair.
Like, that's so he was good. Like, I enjoyed his performance, but I just kept.
But I mean, would you ever think that he's not American, even though he's probably like 18 or 19 years old?
You know, I actually forgot that he was not American until you just said that. But isn't he like, what is he, Scottish?
Welsh or something?
Yeah, he's like some.
I mean, he's a fucking good actor.
no, he
Crazy.
really is. He's
And
a
it's
great
cra-
actor.
He must have been, I didn't look, he must have been 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, probably like 20.
But I mean, damn, he is good.
I mean, most of them had pretty realistic New York accents, except for Bill Pullman.
I don't even care about that. But I'm just saying his acting was so good.
Yeah.
It just carried this movie.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
And I mean, so obviously he was one of the main characters. Jack, he was the balls. Davy was the brains.
Yeah,
Villains, we had kind of a sprinkling of a bunch of different villains.
Well,
The Sights, the Delanceys, Pulitzer, Snyder.
Weasel.
That's Sights, I think. Is
Oh.
Weasel.
Oh, I thought it was.
Maybe not. I think I've been saying that wrong this whole time.
I don't know.
I think that might be the guy's name is Sights.
Oh, maybe.
But Weasel, yeah, Weasel and the Delanceys.
Mr. Pulitzer is like the main.
is the main, and he's awesome. Like,
No, he's really. I mean, it's Robert Duvall. Like,
yeah,
obviously,
he does
he's
an incredible
awesome.
job being a bastard.
He's really good, and he's just
And
the.
that Snyder guy was super creepy too.
So that guy is a character actor too.
Yeah.
I forgot to look him up, but he's like good at playing creepy, weird,
yeah,
bad
but
guy.
I mean, he just looks like a pedophile. Like, he's perfect for
Yeah.
that role.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the side characters, there's just too many.
Crutchy, Les, Denton, Racetrack, Spot Colin, Boots, Mush, Specs, Dutchy, and then I stopped writing them down.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, you can't forget Sarah and Les.
oh yeah, Sarah. I forgot about Sarah. I
Or
wonder
Les.
why.
I mean, Les is like.
Oh no, I said Les.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. the little kid wrapping up.
They should have just called Hungry, because that kid's always just trying to eat.
Oh yeah, because at the beginning at the one part when they're in Miss whatever her name is
Oh yeah, she doesn't really count.
whatever, the vaudeville lady, they were at there and she's like, oh yeah, telling the clown like give them whatever they want.
Yeah,
he takes
that
like
kid's just
so much candy.
Getting as much candy as he can hold.
Yeah, so much. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of characters. I mean, I think that's the point.
And there should have been. That's totally fine. Like, it's your neighborhood or whatever. Cinematography we talked about before, good.
It definitely filmed like
nothing
a stage.
Nothing distracting. Yeah, but filmed like a really limited stage studio filming.
Yeah, no, and it definitely the setting was good, and it was good. The quality was pretty good. I feel like this movie probably had a pretty decent sized budget.
Maybe, I don't know.
But
it's hard to say.
I don't know.
So what's your biggest surprise for this movie or disappointment?
Two things. So
I have two things too, which is interesting.
Okay, I'll share one, and then you'll share one, and then how about that?
I have a feeling they're the same thing. Go ahead.
So my first one is that I was surprised at this. I hadn't heard about this story, that this was a real story. I didn't know this was a thing, the newspaper strike.
Yeah, I knew this.
Okay, so what was your...
kinda.
What was your first one?
The music is fucking awful. That's a huge disappointment.
Okay. My second one is, and this is just something about me as a person, I don't think I like classic musicals as much as I thought I did. Like,
that's pretty fair.
Because I like musicals on the stage, but like anytime I've watched like a quote like classic musical, like when I watched Les Mis and when I watched this, I'm like, this is really boring. Like, I don't like the music.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. My biggest surprise is that Christian Bale's a beast. I mean, seriously, that was surprising.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that the young guy could have carried a movie like this.
He was really good.
Otherwise, this movie would have been shit.
Yeah, no, he was really good. He did a good job. What did you think about? Well, it's a true story, but what did you think about it?
The actual story I love.
Yeah,
it's a good story.
Yeah, no, the story is really, really good.
Yeah.
As far as my final thoughts, I didn't really know what to expect. The fact that it is a musical and it leans so heavily on it, and the music is not very good, at least the way it was done in the movie version, it really drags it down for me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would watch this again.
No, definitely not. So to be honest, I think that without the music, this could be like a superior, excellent film.
It was really, like, I did enjoy...
I feel like without that music, this could have been, like, in the 90s almost. If they would have just cut out all the music.
And they could have added
two or three, like, really good scenes that...
They could have added, like, more with all the side people, like, you know what I mean?
Smooth things through. This could have been an amazing movie.
And maybe, like, another scene with, like, him and Sarah, like, kind of building on their relationship. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Just taking out all that music, added a couple building scenes, and made it 10 to 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
It's not. So what's your rating?
Why don't you go first?
No, you always go first.
I know. That's why I don't like... So, it's not very good, but I gave this movie a 44%.
Okay, that's fair.
What did you give this movie?
So I was kind of in that range until I really thought about it. I give it a 61.
Wow.
Because I think that even though, you know, the music was like horse into the movie, the movie part was really good.
So the movie part was good. I think it's just because I know how good other movie musicals that I've watched, like how good they can be. I just was very disappointed in the music, and when it's a musical, that's very disappointing. And so that is why it drug down for me so much. And like, again, there were a couple of the songs where I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of a fun song,
but like, that's not what you want out of a musical.
I'm not gonna come out like singing it like I do with some of the other ones. No.
So what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score would be?
So I feel like the critic score is probably very high, and the audience score is probably not very high.
So you're right, except for it's the opposite.
Really?
The critic score is 39%. The audience gives it 88%, which to me makes sense.
So I guarantee you, most people that have seen this movie are probably super big musical theater buffs, and they've probably seen the stage show, and so they're probably in love with all the songs, and they're like, oh, it's so good.
So, I mean, I gave it a positive review. I gave it a fresh review. You gave it a rotten. I can actually see more people being like, this is a pretty good movie, music regardless. I think if you like musicals, that you have to hate.
But I think that's why I don't like it, is because I do like
that's
musicals, but it's just like, I like more modern musicals, and I think this is like a super traditional musical.
Right, and this is where, I mean, I hate the musical portion of this movie, but the movie itself is good.
Because, like, okay, even like if you look at, like, when we went and saw Sweeney Todd, that's a more, quote, traditional musical.
With high school kids.
Yeah, well, but still, that's a more, quote, traditional musical, and the songs in there are still, like, more memorable than this.
Well,
Like,
yeah, Sweeney Todd's incredible. I'd love to actually see a real production of that.
but it's just, I just don't like it. So I think that's why I gave it such a low score.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just thought that the story and the acting were incredible enough to actually boost. Okay, so it's Kelly's favorite part.
You know, it is. I say that, like, all the time, but, like, there's just so many options. Like, we watched a bunch of animated ones, or a couple animated ones in a row. Now we got 2 live action. Like, I don't know what it's going to be.
So we got number 203.
So that's a pretty newish one. Is it 2000s?
Not
90s?
quite. 90s.
Ooh, this could be really interesting. Ooh, is it animated?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Because there were some pretty good late 90s animated movies, but all right. I have no idea.
It's number 203. It's 1996's Muppet Treasure Island.
Okay.
So I love the Muppets, so this should be all right. Maybe.
So this is going to be really, really interesting. Because I have seen this.
Ooh.
I didn't watch it a lot, but I have seen it. But it's been, I think the last time I watched it, I was like 12, 13.
Does that check out? No. Oh, no, it checks out.
But I've definitely seen it.
I may have seen it. I really liked the Muppets as a child. This is way past that.
I think, what's his face is in it.
Possible?
Oh,
Wait,
God.
there's a person in it?
Yeah, it's like live action
Oh.
and Muppets.
Well, Muppets usually, that's why I was like, I'm not sure.
No, yeah.
Because Muppets usually is puppets.
What's his name? God, what is his name? He's so notable. He was in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh,
Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think that he's in it. I think he plays like a pirate, but
Wow, this should be good.
but I don't remember though. But I mean, okay, so Muppet Treasure Island, like obvious. It's.
Yeah.
Do you have a guess?
Muppets and pirates.
Okay, yeah,
Clearly.
yeah. That's why I didn't feel like I was cheating you anything by saying, "Oh, he's a pirate."
Somebody's gonna tie up Miss Piggy.
So I don't remember. Yeah, so this will be fun because I did not watch the Muppets a ton as a kid,
And I did.
but I know that I've seen this
I was
movie.
more of an 80s kid than you were, or totally an 80s kid and you were not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this will really be interesting.
Yeah, because I'm like excited to watch it because I don't honestly remember if I liked it or really that much about it. I just remember Tim Curry.
I love Tim Curry.
I
so,
think.
This could be really good or it could be really bad.
I might be confusing him with someone else and people out there and I feel like a lot of people like have strong memories of this movie.
I'm sure they do.
So
yeah.
they're like probably yelling at me right now if it's not Tim Curry, but like it's not Tim Curry, Kelly. You're so dumb. But I feel like it is. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to watch it.
All right. So in the meantime, you could follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or you could send us an email at thedisneymovies@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the podcast. We love that.
We do. Yeah, and definitely share it if you know anybody that needs a new podcast to listen to or that likes Disney but hasn't listened to podcasts before. Maybe this will help get them into podcasts.
Right, or something that's not so serious these days. This is not serious at all or topical, so
Yeah,
You
and
know, share it with somebody who might need a break.
we'd love to hear what you guys thought about these movies. If you've watched them recently, or if you hate these movies or like these movies, as we watch them, it'd be cool to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah, if you want to roast one of us for how we think about it, go for it. But in the meantime, I'm David.
I'm Kelly.
And this has been At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
Bye! Papes!
Okay, are you ready this time?
I think so. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is it recording?
Of course, it's been recording, yeah.
Okay.